Greetings, everyone. Since there's been some confusion about how to join a client to a domain, I am going to run through those steps real quick. I'm in the process. I've got your two machines open from your NetLab. The first machine that you see is a client. So people have been asking me, where do I have Windows 7? If you're using NetLab, you have Windows 7 already built in. And I'm in the process of going through the DC promo again, or the promotion of my server into a domain controller. All right, so I'm going to call mine evilhangout.org, and it's verifying the NetBIOS name. So my domain NetBIOS name is going to be the same. And I've already gone through this once, but this is where I want it. You'll see that it says Additional Domain Controller Options, DNS. It's imperative that the very first time you load a server, an Active Directory domain controller, that it actually becomes a domain name server as well, or a DNS server. So we keep that box checked. And this is the typical message you will get. It says a delegation for the DNS server cannot be created because the authoritative parent zone cannot be found. Think about it. We don't actually have a DNS server yet, so this should come up. We're making us a DNS server. So this is a normal message. So sometimes you have to really think about what it reads and what it says. So I'm going to go ahead and say next to this. The password is just in the event that we have to restore. Oops. And of course helps if I go ahead and okay, so then it's going to go ahead and reboot upon completion. And we'll say next. Or actually, we'll let this do. Once this reboots, I'm going to show you the properties of my, and I can show it to you once this is booked. So this is my network properties. I'm going to go open this up. You have to have a static IP address on your machine prior to trying to promote it. So I'm going to take a look at I went ahead and made 192.168.3.1 my domain server. Okay, my default gateway, even though we're not connected to the internet and NetLab, it doesn't matter. So I just put 3.100. If you notice here, preferred DNS server, I point back to myself because this is the server I'm making a DNS server. So these, in the first domain controller, you have to have addresses identical in the IP address and the preferred DNS. Now, when you sometimes go back into it, it might read 127.0.0.1, which is the loopback address. That's normal too. It still says point to me. When you see 127.0.0.1, it means point to me. So that's the same thing as saying 192.168.3.1. So so it's going to go ahead and load this up since it's finished already. So that's important. Now, when you open up your client, it is not joined at the moment. And so what you have to do here is, I always personalize it and change my desktop options, and I put computer networking on my desktop to make life a little easier. And now you'll see those icons. Okay, so now I actually have it. So here's my network settings. So what I have to do here is go into changing the adapter settings, and I want to join the domain, which means I have to be on the same network. Well, my network was, and this is where everybody's been thinking that they're already joined because this machine obviously has an address in it. Well, this address is wrong. This will never ping my network. So we want to go ahead and change this to 3. Okay, and I'm going to just use the next address, 2. And I'm going to go ahead and set up the default gateway. Even like I said, it's not necessary to 3.100. Now the only difference is I'm going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to make this 3.1. That is the address of this server over here. So I'm going to say OK and say OK. Once you change your network settings to be the same as your address over here, and I think your address is like 100, 192.168, 100 network. So the first 3 octets of the IP addresses on both of them have to be identical. So one of the first things you do after you've gone ahead and changed your network address is open up Command Prompt and find out whether or not you can ping it. So I'm going to ping this server. Now, there's 2 different ways to ping it. Now, it's applying its settings, so I doubt seriously it might be able to see it. So I'm going to ping 3.1, which is my server. And as you can see, it's pinging it. Okay. Now, to verify if DNS is working correctly, I should be able to ping it based on its name. You didn't see me change the name, but the name of that computer is Jafar. So let me see if I can ping Jafar. And I can. That tells me right there that DNS is working. When you can ping based off of a name, then you know DNS is working. So as soon as this is done, and it doesn't really matter that this is, I don't even have to log into this server to get this connected. So once that's finished, we go to Computer, Properties, Change Settings, Change ID. Of course, the name is, I would never keep it this, but for right now I will. But you change it to domain. And it's Evil Hangout, minus the .org, Evil Hangout. And you should be prompted with your computer name, domain changes. So right now it says my domain is Evil Hangout. So I need to put administrator and my administrator password. And it should say welcome to Evil Hangout if this is successful. And again, take a couple minutes. If you get an error of some sort saying DNS, then you've got to. But if you checked it by doing the 2 things I've told you, it should work no problem. So welcome to Evil Hangout domain. So now I'm joined. So it's got to restart. So while that one's restarting, one other thing I want to show you back on the domain controller. So PC, control. I'm going to Hangout. Now you'll notice it says Evil Hangout Administrator. I'm going to log in now as my administrator account. Okay, so my password has got to be changed. That's fine. And of course not. I never get these right the first time. Okay, so my password is changed. Okay, my client's back up, so I'm going to do PC, Control Delete. Now, you'll notice that it says Win7 PC1 student. Well, if I log in right now, I'm locally logging into this account. I don't have a student account on my domain, so if I log in right now, it's my local account. So what I have to do is I've got to switch user. And you say other user the first time, and you specify, it says log on to Evil Hangout. So right here it's saying log on to Evil Hangout. So you can actually do it as, so administrator and P, of course not. Interesting. It hasn't gotten into it yet. Oh well, shouldn't have done that either, so hang on a second. As it times out on me. I don't think the new password, I just changed my password of it. But I wanted to show you this. I'll deal with that in just a second. As far as everybody's saying that there's something wrong with the password, what you have to do is, or the user account's not working correctly, what you need to do is what you have to remember is you can't log on locally to a domain controller if you're a user. Okay, so what you have to do instead is you got to add people to the Active Directory group policy management. So I want to open up all programs, administrative tools. Where's the regular? Okay, there they are, administrative tools, and then group policy management. So what you want to do then is open up, if you open up group policy, you'll actually see default domain policy, okay? And this is the one that you want to actually go into, and you have to edit it. So you actually have to go into computer configuration policies, and you have to go into Windows settings, and you have to go into security settings, and it says local policy, user right assignments. Oh, and this is not the right one. Anyway, it's not actually this one, it's a different one. I'll show you where it is. But you have to be able to give the, so it's not the default domain, it's default domain controller. Okay, so you want to edit this one. And it's still the same places. Policies, Windows settings, security settings, local policy, user right assignments. And here you'll actually see allow log on locally. It's about the fifth one down. Double click it. Right now, the people that can only log on to your servers are account operators, administrator, backup operators, net, and server. So we add a user group to this, and you specify domain users. If my computer, domain users. And the reason why you do domain users is because everybody else is a domain user. So now we have domain users, and we apply this and we say okay. Again, think about this. Do we want users logging locally onto our server? Well, the answer is no. So what we do is it's something that Microsoft always forgets about. So we go ahead and we say, all right, fine. We got to let them log on locally. So we got to do it through domain. Show. If you make that change, your labs will work much better. Interesting. Doesn't like me. Evil Hangout Administrator. I will have to reset that. All right, so I wanted to show you those two things, and I will definitely have some videos out for you next week on group policy because it does take a little bit more challenge for it. So hopefully that helps you tonight to get them finished up on the labs. Do not worry about 5.7 and 5.8 at this point. It is an issue with there's a couple things that actually prevents us from doing it. So I gave you the fixes if you're a real environment, so don't worry about it. Okay, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.